And now we're live. Hello and welcome one and all to Granite's first risk management webinar of 2022. Let's take a second to recognize that sometimes technology is not our friend and it can leave you in a lurch. So just a couple of seconds to let people in, and just to make sure that at least some of you can hear me. If you can, put in the chat, if not where you're from, where you're coming from, or where you're joining us, but what's the weather out there at your end. We are here in Finland. It's snowy and cold, and you can almost see the sun if you jump high enough. My name is Antti Pekkala. I carry the title of Inbound and Demand Lead here at Granite, and I have a good fortune to have with me my boss man, Janne, our Chief Commercial Officer. How are you, Janne? Did you actually manage to catch any fish?
Let's just say that no fish were hurt during the process. So
okay,
I leave it to you to decide whether I got any or not.
Okay, and for all those who aren't in the know, I'm of course referring to our little ad clip we posted on YouTube where Janne was ice fishing. But I'm glad to have him here now with me as we're talking risk management, as the title suggests, opportunities. But before we get into all that, I'd like to sum up what we hope to achieve in the following 30 minutes we've allowed ourselves. To put simply, I fished out three scenarios, three stories from our customer base, and I'm planning to put them to Janne and see what he can make of them. If you have any questions, the chat is, like I said, right there. Just pop your question in then, and I'll try to get to them in a timely fashion. Just remember that if you ask about the recording, you will be ignored. You'll get the recording automatically within about 2 hours after we've done. So if you have to step out to, I don't know, let the cat out of the washing machine, you can do that as well, and you probably won't miss anything. Okay? All right, on that note, just a quick word about Granite so that you know what we are about. In a nutshell, Granite is a GRC software provider established in 2005, based here in Finland and serving approximately 20,000 monthly users around the globe. We provide secure ISO 27001 certified, easy to use and fully customizable risk management tools, all developed in-house here in Tampere, Finland. Anything to add, Janne?
Sounds about it. Excellent way to put it.
Okay, so if you want to hear more about us or our solutions, don't hesitate to reach out afterwards. We're always available for a quick chat. And on with the topic, risk management defined. But before I get to the scenarios, just a couple of concepts you should be aware of before we get started. I'm quite sure that most of you are familiar with all sorts of risk management maturity models, but I feel that it's always good to refresh your memory. So this, you probably see on your screen, this risk management maturity model is a framework for organizations to self-assess their risk management, to make it a little bit easier to set goals, for example. We use this quite a lot when we work with our customers, just to understand more from where they're coming from and what they're trying to get out of when they, for example, choose us as their risk management solution provider. Another thing you should probably put behind your ear is this sort of a GRC triangle or pyramid, whichever you want to call it. What that means is when it comes to this webinar, there are those three boxes there in the middle that mention long-term and short-term goals, and of course regulations, which are things that drive most GRC initiatives, or that's at least how I understand it. How far off am I, Janne, on this part?
You are right, and I believe in my answers. I will get back to this triangle, so it's good to solve.
Yeah, that's good. And just another one, a quick one before we get to it. This slide is about understanding risk and opportunity in this sort of when it comes to like residual risk and response and inherent risk. Do you have anything to add here, or should I just zoom ahead?
I believe that everybody recognizes this also. So
all right.
Nobody else have anything to ask about this, so that I think we hit for the scenarios.
Okay, that's cool. And all right, like I said, 3 scenarios about risk and opportunity within this larger umbrella of risk management being defined through risk and opportunity management. The first one that I have here is about integrating risk and opportunities. So, and I'm checking my notes here. So let's imagine that I have this company, an SME, that has more or less integrated risk management throughout their whole operations, at least on paper. That means that having gotten rid of their Excels and more traditional risk registers, they understandably see themselves as more mature than the average company. Thanks to reporting and new analytics, the work has produced some results, but the main benefit has been that now that they are spared from the burden of keeping track of actions and controls manually and hunting down the most recent report, they managed to free a little bit more time to actually plan ahead. But here's the rub. Even so, risk management as a tool to look forward and not just back is, in this particular company, often ignored when it comes down to it. Despite all the talk and all the goodwill, risk management is still mostly seen as a way to assess and treat threats, and as such only taken into consideration when the worst comes to worst. So, Janne, here's my question to you. What do you think? What's the best way forward in a situation like this? How could this example company of mine integrate their risk management more comprehensively?
Okay, good start. First of all, we all know the saying that if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So, as you said, the company is more mature than they think that they are more mature than compared to many other companies. So
Yeah.
it seems that their processes are good and so on. So if things ain't really broken and you are satisfied with the results you get from the risk management processes, so I just wonder if you really need to change anything. But then again, as always, at least nowadays, most of the companies have the DNA of continuous improvement in their
Yeah.
DNA. So we are not satisfied normally with the situation. So and as you said, we are always, and we should look ways to improve our processes and so on.
Yeah.
And the opportunities. I think this is the good way to improve. You take the opportunities into your risk management processes.
Sure.
I can honestly recommend, and I think that's the direction you should go with those. But the first steps, if you don't already have the opportunities in the process, is to
Yeah.
define what kind of opportunities you wish to have in this process.
All right.
And
That's like an interesting point.
yeah, and normally those are related to the objectives of the company. But then again, you just need to think where and how. And this is basically the first part where I said that if we go back to the triangle, and
Yeah.
that's the way.
Do you want me to show it?
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right.
I'm just.
You want to refer back to it?
Yeah.
Here it is.
And this is where you combine those opportunities. In which level?
Yeah.
Are those strategic or operative level objectives that you want to have the opportunities to tie with?
Okay.
So, and
is there like any difference between or in the company maturity level, which one is traditionally more easier to start with, or should you just choose both and go with those?
Yeah, I think this is two-sided coin.
Okay.
I think it's easier to start with a strategic level, but then again, the operative level is the one that we need to get doing this. So
Okay.
if the things are too strategic, then the operative level, they don't feel like they are inside the process.
Yeah,
It's
that's
easier to start in the top and go downwards, but you have to bear in mind that you need to get the operative level to work on this one too.
Yeah, I'm like, that makes sense. I can understand the difference between them, or maybe a little bit of friction there between the strategic levels and the operative levels. As we know that on the operative levels, or well, the goals, or the goals of risk management come a lot more, easily addressed or visible than on the strategic level, because they are often, as this slide says, long term. It can take a little bit more time to actually have a proof of concept of what you're trying to do when you implement when you're trying to realign your approach.
Yeah, sometimes the operative level sees those goals a bit abstract, so they don't really go for it.
Definitely. Well, yeah, I guess that at least answers my question, and I'll take that as a sign to hop on the next one, as we're running here on the 10-minute mark. The second scenario that I have prepared here is like this company. It's a multinational, very information security oriented. Coming from that perspective, they have always chosen their approach to risk management through the different sort of ISO certification processes, and for the most part, it has been their favorite approach, for the simple reasons that like frameworks like that, they bring with them like a clear benchmark for comparison and contrasting, and as such, they make it a little bit quicker to prove compliance to variety of different stakeholders who also put a lot of weight on certificates and standards. However, with this approach, like this particular company, for example, they have felt a little locked in to the requirements of the standardized approach when they need to consider opportunities as part of risk management came into question at one particular moment. And they found themselves in a crossroads, seeing the benefits of more opportunity-aligned perspective, but not knowing how to bridge the gap between the two. Janne, you know about information security stuff. You were involved when Granite got our ISO 27001 badge. What's there to do in this situation? What should they consider in this type of situation in regards to risks and opportunities?
Okay, I think this is a tough one. So,
well, that's a good one. Like I don't want to throw out too easy questions for you.
Okay, let me start by saying that standards are an excellent way of doing things, and to start with. They are internationally recognized, and everybody knows what you are doing, and you are doing the recognized best practices and so on. So it's a very good starting point. But sometimes they are a bit overwhelming, and at least if you want to get certified, then you need to do a lot of things. So, and they tie you up, as you said, they tie you up doing things in a certain,
in a very rigid sort of a predetermined manner, which has very little flexibility. At least that's my understanding of it.
Yes, but many standards, like for example the ISO 27000, they have the management system inside the standard. So this is something that I like very much. So basically, if you are following a standard like the ISO 27000, you will get your management about security and risk management and so on. So you will get it aligned with the ISO and with the best practices and so on. Yeah. So that's why I do recommend that you should follow the standards. And nowadays, many standards, they also include the opportunities. Okay. So for example, ISO 31000, they include the opportunities. So you will get the opportunities from there also. So it shouldn't be that complicated to have those opportunities within the standards also.
Okay.
Those companies who don't go for the certification, so the worst case scenario is that they feel that they are choking on all the requirements of the standard and they just give up.
Yeah.
Seems like, okay, there's so many things to do and so little time, so they give up and say, okay, we'll do as we've done always. So and then they are not in the path of the continuous improvement and so on. But then you just should remember that this is not something that, okay, we fix everything in a couple of weeks and then we concentrate on some other things. It takes time, and you when you understand this, then you know that, okay, this takes time. We'll build it up during the path on our way to excellence and so on. So don't get frustrated.
Yeah.
I think the ISO, if you start, then the ISO, the standards are the good path going
Yeah.
forward.
All right. If I understand you correctly, it's more about understanding the basic, like the building blocks of that that particular ISO standard that you're looking. Whether you're going for the standardization, the certificate, or just trying to align yourself with those principles that those standards provide, and try to understand how that works with the with the goals that you've set for yourself, and trying to like if the chosen ISO standard doesn't include opportunities, then just try to see what else is there, and how could you improve on that what you already have in place because of your older sort of models and processes. How is that basically what you were trying to get at, or am I
You're not wrong. You have it correct. I don't know any standards that says that you shouldn't include opportunities.
okay?
It seems
Well,
that
that's good.
more and more standards are now including the opportunities than not so. So, as I said before in the first scenario, that if you are able and you can do it, then you always should include the opportunities. One more thing, as a representative of the company who make tools for this kind of I recommend you to take tools, software and so on, when you are building things.
Okay.
Take tools, they will help you along the way, but always have in mind that don't build the processes or anything because of the tools. So the tools are not the important thing. They will help you, but your process should not serve the tool. The tool should serve your process.
Yes, that's always a good thing to remember. And I definitely have come across companies who have this sort of ISO regulated approach, who are perhaps a little bit lost in the process because of that, because the demands and the requirements from the standard are so comprehensive, which is a good thing. On a larger scale, it's a good thing that they're comprehensive, but there are so much of that, so many requirements you have to take into account that the original reason which sort of drove you into that sort of gets lost in the process.
It's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, I like that answer, and that means that I have just one scenario here left, and it's about a couple of things that has already been brought up here, but something that has been bubbling under, at least in the conversations that I've had with our customers, and it boils down to this idea of risks, opportunities, and objectives. And the scenario goes like this. I was talking to this organization, although a very established business, under a new management, the team or this example organization had experienced under new management a bit of a come to light moment when it came to risk and opportunity management, and as such, understandably, perhaps rushed to dip themselves into risk management using the first tools available. Well, you probably all know how that is. Sometimes you're so excited about managing some risk that you can't just contain yourself, right? Well, in any case, after the initial push, this organization found, realized that the development sort of plateaued, and the organization, perhaps somewhat erroneously, took it to mean that they had mistaken in their original approach, and came to the conclusion that they were too immature to handle the scope they were after. Janne, in your experience, Is there any truth to this idea? I mean, are there any reasons to assume that they were correct? They were, biting off a little bit more than they chew when it came to starting, sort of hopping straight into risks and opportunities. Is that something that is only for the more initiated, or is there like a way to mature more quickly, so to speak, to start with both risks and opportunities in mind?
First, I say that it happens to almost all the companies. When you start doing things, then as you said, you are enthused about it.
Yeah.
And you start big. You have everybody along the way, and everybody's working to have the process going and so on.
Sure.
But after a while, it seems that, okay, we've done a good job here and we don't know how to improve, and the management, they have their time, they need to put effort on something else, and that's how we get lost and we don't actually do the monitoring and so on. So you should emphasize the monitoring.
Yeah.
And you should emphasize about the objectives. So
Sure.
if your risk management is based on the objectives in both of those levels, as we saw in the triangle, in the strategic level and
Yeah.
in the operational level, and as we know that the risk management is the way to accomplish our objectives, and
Yeah.
when this is actually put in place, so then the risk management process is not something that you do on the side, but
Yeah.
the risk management process is included in your business process.
Okay.
And this is, I think, the best way, the best case scenario, and then you can include those opportunities there also.
Yeah.
So as I referenced to the first scenario, so you will have your objectives in both of those levels, and then you see your risks and your opportunities against those objectives.
Yeah.
And then you need to monitor.
Okay.
And that way you would always know whether you are reaching your objectives or not. And this is something I think that the risk management gives you. You know whether you are reaching your goals or not. And you basically have ways of making sure that you are getting into your goals, or at least you know how to report that, okay, it seems that we are not hitting our goals or objectives at the moment.
Sure. Maybe at this point, I'd like to expand a little bit, inspired by your answer to, hop back onto the maturity model level. Is there any correlation between the self-assessed the risk maturity of an organization and their ability to implement ideas about not only about risk management, because this is basically based on that sort of self-assess your ability to actually look at risk as something more than like a threat or whatever, but also to bring opportunities into it. Is there like a difference between these sort of maturity levels? Is it, and like if you see yourself, let's say on the sort of a third level, you're doing like risk management as a business function, is opportunity management or taking opportunities and objectives into your risk management? Is it something something that waits you in the horizon, or is it something that you can actually start going towards, from the day one or so?
Yeah, you make it sound like it would be some kind of magic to take the opportunities, and only the magicians have the right answer how to do it. So, I don't.
Well, sometimes it sounds like that when you're talking to a certain type of risk management professional. Just my opinion.
There's no magic. It's just about deciding that we're going to take the opportunities with us. And most of the time, when you do you do take the opportunities into the process, you probably will go up a level or two in this model. But as I always try to say, that don't look this model too much, because when you start staring at the model, you see that okay, there's the level 5 that we want to be on the level 5, and probably most of the companies don't need to be on the level 5.
Yeah.
So you basically first you need to know that what do you want from your processes, from your risk management processes, and whether you wish to have the opportunities with you or not. I recommend that you should, but don't stare at this maturity model. Just do your thing, take the opportunities with you, and afterwards do the self-assessment that okay, in which level we think that we are.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. And and I admit, even occasionally when I of course, because I use this in my conversations quite often, even I sometimes forget it because it so easily leads you to think that all right, because these look like steps that you need to rise, and at the end there is this sort of a risk intelligent decision making, which sort of leaves out the fact that you can be you can do very good risk and opportunity management basically on every level. Perhaps on the first level it could be a little bit too cumbersome to try to do that. At that level it should be perhaps more about actually trying to drill into the idea of risk management and why that could be like an appropriate tool for you to consider. But that's at least how it seems to me.
Yeah, and of course you always need to monitor that your risk management, does it have an effect?
Yeah.
It's not just about doing the things, but you need to also know that we have an effect. If you take the slide about the inherent residual risk, so this is where you know that okay, we have an effect when
Definitely.
we monitor our risks. So after we have done the mitigation or the response, then and we evaluate the residual risk, and this is what you need to do in your reporting or monitoring, that we know that okay, we are at least on our good path to this residual risk and so on. And you have to monitor that, and you have to report to your management that okay, the risk management we are doing, it has an effect, and we are not just doing things.
Definitely. And well, on that note, actually, I've exhausted all that I have here ready. But now that we have like a couple of people on the line, I'll have a poll here. I'll launch it now just to gauge your opinion. If you had like a second, just click what you think about opportunities in risk management. The answers will be shown only to us, and we used data to improve our further, our future webinars when we're discussing these topics. The next one that we're having, it's in 24th of February. We're talking about enterprise objectives when it comes to in the way that they actually have connection to risk management, and the link to to sign up for that webinar will follow you in the email where you get to recording. And I also put a pop-up there on the screen. You can sign up for the next webinar as well if you want to. Well, maybe now that we've almost run our 30-minute slot here, we keep it tight here at Granite. Janne, any key takeaways from this webinar about risk and opportunity as it pertains to risk management?
If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Continuous improvement anyway, and take the opportunities within your process.
Okay, that's more than enough for me, and I'm just trying to find my cursor so I can leave you with those ideas. On my part, I'd like to thank everyone who showed up here. I know this is a little bit of a new thing for us to even do, and I especially want to thank Janne for taking time away from ice fishing. I hope there's still fish left under the ice, and I can free you to follow your passion after this. And everyone else there on your end, I want to wish you a good day and very, very risk-free and opportunity-rich Tuesday.
Yes, thank you for your time.
Yeah, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.